Mercedes has been hiding something, and Red Bull just exposed it. Not a loophole. Not a trick. A system. A performance advantage worth almost 2 seconds per lap, and nobody fully understood where it came from. Until now. Because after Suzuka, Red Bull found the exact reason why Mercedes keeps pulling away on every straight. And here's the shocking part. It's not more power. It's how long they keep it. While Red Bull is losing energy for over 8 seconds every lap, Mercedes loses less than half of that. That's the difference between fighting and disappearing. And now that this secret is out, every team knows exactly what they've been missing. Subscribe now, because once Formula One understands your advantage, it doesn't stay yours for long. But the moment this secret started to reveal itself wasn't in a meeting room. It was on track. Because for lap after lap, Verstappen was experiencing something that didn't make sense. Not a lack of grip. Not a balance issue. Something else. The car would exit the corner strong. Good traction. Decent acceleration. And then suddenly, it stopped pulling. Not completely, but enough to feel it. Enough to know something was wrong. And this is where things get very precise. Because this drop in performance wasn't random. It happened at the same point every single lap. Midway down the straight. Exactly where maximum power should still be there. But it wasn't. And that's when Red Bull realized. This isn't about how fast the car is. It's about how long it can stay fast. So they went deeper into the data. Throttle input. Energy deployment. Battery release curves. And what they found was brutally clear. Red Bull was using too much energy, too early. Strong initial boost. Aggressive deployment. But then, nothing left. Which means by the time the car reached the end of the straight, it was already losing performance. Meanwhile, Mercedes was doing something completely different. More controlled deployment. More efficient release. And most importantly, they still had power when others didn't. This is the real advantage. Not peak speed. Sustained speed. The ability to stretch performance across the entire straight. And this is where the numbers become impossible to ignore. Because while Mercedes loses power for less than 3 seconds per lap, Red Bull is losing it for more than 8. Think about that. Every lap. For multiple seconds. The engine is not delivering full performance. And over a full race distance. That becomes massive. Hundreds of seconds of lost potential. And suddenly, everything clicks. Why Verstappen couldn't pass Gasly? Why DRS wasn't enough? Why even small gaps became impossible to close? Because by the time he tried to attack, the power was already gone. And here's where the story takes a turn. Because this isn't just a Red Bull problem. It's a reference point. A comparison that reveals exactly how far ahead Mercedes really is. Because if one team is losing power early, and another can sustain it almost to the end, that gap becomes exponential. Not linear. It grows with every straight. Every lap. Every race. And that's exactly what we're seeing. But here's the detail that changes everything. Because once Red Bull understood this pattern, they stopped looking at their car as broken. And started looking at Mercedes as optimized. Which is a completely different mindset. Because now, the goal is not to fix everything. It's to match one thing. Energy efficiency. And that's where things get dangerous for Mercedes. Because solving that problem doesn't require reinventing the engine. It requires understanding it. Mapping it better. Deploying smarter. Recovering more efficiently. And once that process starts, the gap begins to shrink. Slowly at first. then all at once. But don't assume this is simple. Because improving energy management affects the entire car. Balance changes. Driving style changes. Setup philosophy changes. Everything is connected. Which means Red Bull now faces a critical decision. Do they keep pushing aggressively? Or do they completely rethink how their car uses energy? And whatever they choose will define their season. But here's the part nobody is talking about yet. Because if Red Bull has discovered this, they're not the only ones. Ferrari has seen it. McLaren has seen it. Every team studying Mercedes data has seen the same pattern. And that means one thing. Mercedes is no longer invisible. Their advantage has been decoded. And in Formula One, that's when the real fight begins. And this is where the situation becomes dangerous, not just for Red Bull. For Mercedes. Because once an advantage is understood, it stops being unique. It becomes a target. And right now, every team on the grid is looking at the same thing. The same data. The same patterns. The same difference in energy usage. And they're all asking the same question. How do we replicate this? Because that's how Formula One works. No secret stays hidden forever. If something gives you an advantage, others will find it. Study it. Break it down. Rebuild it. And eventually, match it. But here's where Mercedes faces a problem they didn't have before. Time. Because while they are still ahead, they are now in a defensive position. They're no longer just developing forward. They're protecting what they already have. And that changes everything. Because development under pressure is different. You take fewer risks. You protect stability. You avoid drastic changes. Meanwhile, teams like Red Bull, they have nothing to lose. They can experiment, push limits, try aggressive solutions. And sometimes, that's exactly how breakthroughs happen. Now imagine this scenario. Red Bull improves their energy efficiency just enough. Not perfect. Not equal. Just enough. Suddenly, they're not losing power halfway down the straight. Suddenly, they can stay within range. And once they're within range, everything changes. Because Formula One is not won by seconds. It's won by opportunities. And opportunities only exist when the gap is small. Now Mercedes has to defend positions. Now they have to manage pressure. Now they have to react, instead of control. And when that shift happens, mistakes start to appear. But here's the deeper layer. Because Mercedes' advantage is not just technical. It's psychological. Right now, every team expects them to be faster. Every driver expects them to pull away. That expectation shapes races before they even begin. But the moment another team stays close, that belief breaks. And once belief breaks, confidence follows. And confidence in Formula One is everything. Now add one more factor. The championship. Because Mercedes is leading comfortably right now. They have the points. They have momentum. But that also means pressure. They are expected to win. Every race. Every weekend. And the higher the expectation, the harder the fall. Because if Red Bull, or Ferrari, or even McLaren starts closing that gap, Mercedes doesn't just face competition. They face doubt. Internal doubt. Strategic doubt. Execution doubt. And those are the cracks that don't show on lap time, but decide championships. So now, everything connects. Red Bull discovered the problem. They revealed the system. They exposed the advantage. And in doing so, they changed the direction of the season. Because from this moment forward, This is no longer about chasing Mercedes blindly. This is targeted, focused, relentless. Every update, every simulation, every test, all pointing to one thing: